Hi everyone, this is Stan. Hope you're all having a great day. Today is a very important day, both for China and the whole world's democratic movement. 32 years ago, Tiananmen massacre happened, and China lost its opportunity for democratization. When the former Soviet satellites or Soviet bloc countries were democratizing, when people were going out on the streets demanding freedom, when Taiwan ended its martial law, late 80s and early 90s, it was a period of hope. People were seeing the world as moving into the right direction. And same thing happened in China. Those students who went out to the streets, they demanded the freedom of press, they demanded the freedom of speech. They hoped that China could become a democratic country. And of course, they couldn't stay the corrupt CCP regime any longer. 1989 democratic movement in Beijing started as a memorial service for Hu Yaobang, who was one of the more liberal-thinking and forward-thinking party members, who even called for more autonomy for Xinjiang, but unfortunately lost his power in the late 80s, so that the people like Li Peng and Deng Xiaoping were really deciding the direction where China was going into. And when the students took onto the streets, what did the Chinese Communist Party do? They sent tanks against them. Thousands of people died on 4th of June 1989. Students that had no weapons, students from the best Chinese schools, students that were supposed to be the better future of China, the new generation of Chinese freethinkers. The CCP committed a mass murder that time, and the Western sanctions were not enough to contain them. What is interesting that up until now, China didn't apologize. What they prefer to do is just to pretend that nothing happened in 1989. You cannot find any information about Tiananmen massacre on Chinese internet. You cannot even search in the internet for 8964, like year 1989 and June 4th. The CCP is trying to erase those events from the Chinese memory. In my opinion, the Western countries made a great mistake by continuing developing relationships with China. The events of June 4th were just another demonstration that China never changed, that the CCP's regime that took the power in 1949, they starved people to death, they killed people during the Cultural Revolution, and then they killed students during the student protests in 1989. The CCP doesn't care about the well-being of the Chinese people. All they care about is how can they keep the power in their hands. And the people who were deciding to kill the students that time, they stayed in power up until late days. Li Peng died 2 years ago. And letting China become a bigger power in the world economic system was one of the greatest mistakes made by the United States and Europe, and all the free democratic countries that decided that they should continue trading with China without demanding them to improve the situation with the human rights. At the same time, we can take a look at the countries that democratized successfully, like countries of the Central and Eastern Europe, like Eastern Germany, Poland, Romania, Hungary, Slovakia, Czech Republic, like the former members of the Soviet bloc like Baltic states, and how the life in Red China, in communist-controlled China, is only becoming worse. It's becoming worse for Uyghurs, it's becoming worse for Tibetans, it's becoming worse for any other Chinese freethinkers. And modern-day China is very different from the Soviet Union in the 80s. The Soviet Union was not as greatly involved in world's economic system. It was sanctioned by most of the democratic countries. And one of the reasons why the Red Soviet regime was over was its failing economy. What is scary is that right now the world is too dependent on China's economy, too dependent on China's manufacturing. And the China we're having right now is also very different from the China in late 80s, with their Confucius institutes, with mass propaganda. When you see even the so-called China experts in most of the times are taking the position of the CCP, and thus leading to the major strategic mistakes by the European countries, by the United States, by Japan, by Korea, by India, by all of the democratic countries. Communist China, by all of its actions, only show the world that it's not a partner that you should trust. And the way they treat their own people is no different from the way they treat their economic partners. And how right now China is trying to influence the whole world by its credits, by its One Belt, One Road initiative, by supporting autocracies and dictatorships in Africa, in Central Asia, in South America. We're having another Soviet Union, another Nazi Germany, a country that doesn't treat the individual rights and the human rights as the most important value, and a country that wants to influence the whole world. And who made China as big and strong? The democratic countries. Help from the United States, help from the UK, help from the European Union, Japan, Korea, most of the neighbors. Let's not forget what happened on June 4th, 1989. Let's not forget about those students who lost their lives for the better future of China, for the freedom of China. And it's very scary to see the people, not only in the democratic countries in Europe or in the United States, that are protecting China and supporting China as much as they can, but also in Taiwan, in country that China constantly wants to occupy, even though the CCP didn't control Taiwan not for a single day. Actually, factually speaking, Taiwan never belonged to China. Any kind of Chinese empire that existed there didn't control the whole Taiwan. And according to the international law, Taiwan doesn't belong to China. Because according to the San Francisco Peace Treaty, Japan just renounced its rights over Taiwan. And according to the Treaty of Taipei, it was just confirmed once again. Japan didn't renounce its right over Taiwan in favor of China or the United States or any other country. It just renounced it, meaning Taiwan should belong to the Taiwanese people, and not any of the Chinese governments. But that's a different topic. What is very scary is how China is threatening free and democratic Taiwan, sending warplanes, warships, blocking Taiwan's access to get the vaccines. It's not the first time when China blocked Taiwan's access to help. Same thing happened after the big earthquake in 1999, when some rescue teams were sent to Taiwan, but they were blocked by China, which is very unfair. And it's also very worrying how useless are international organizations like World Health Organization or United Nations when we're talking about Taiwan. So one of the goals why I'm making my videos is to talk more about Taiwan, to let more people know about this country. I made most of the videos in Mandarin on my Stand from Poland channel, where I'm talking to the Taiwanese people, to the people in mainland China, to the Chinese-speaking people all around the world, about human rights, about democracy, about free economy, about free trade, and about how dangerous is the CCP, and why the CCP is the common enemy of all the free world, and the greatest enemy of the Chinese people. I also made videos in English for Love Taiwan channel, but here I prefer just to speak my mind out, without any heavy editing, without subtitling, just speaking my mind out. So regarding the events that happened on June 4th, we should never forget it. We should never forget that human sacrifice for the freedom of China. And there is another thing I wanted to discuss with you today. Recently, Xi Jinping said that he wants to change the image of China. He called for more credible, lovable or cute and respectable image of China. 可信, 可爱, 可敬. I mean, lovable, cute. Maybe he finally will admit that he is Winnie the Pooh. But what does it mean for the democratic movement, for the movement for democratization of China, for Taiwan independence movement, for the people who are opposing the CCP? We'll see more Chinese propaganda. We'll see more Shills. We'll probably see more new YouTube channels like Daniel Dumbrell, Cyrus Jensen's, like those more of the higher level Wu Maos. Not people like Nathan Rich, who knows nothing about China, can't even speak Chinese, but more of a fake intellectual Shills. We'll probably see new TV channels, or old TV channels, becoming more pro-CCP. And what is very important, there will be new efforts to influence the educational system all around the world. More cooperation with foreign schools, or Chinese cultural centers, but the Chinese culture that they're going to be promoting is only culture that will portray CCP in a favorable way. We'll see more attacks on the anti-CCP YouTubers and on human rights activists. Just take a look how Adrian Zenz, who is one of the main German human rights scholars, many great works about the situation that is going on in Xinjiang or East Turkestan right now about human rights violations, how the Chinese government is acting against him right now. So they will be coming after human rights activists, they'll be coming after human rights scholars. They will try to change the perception of China, of Red China, of Communist China in the other countries. As right now the opinion about the Chinese Communist Party is not favorable at all, so they'll probably try to package it in a more traditional Chinese cultural way and avoid talking about communism and socialism. What they're doing here in Poland, they're not promoting socialism and communism directly, but more talking about the successes of Chinese government without mentioning the Chinese Communist Party. So that's going to be another very different topic to take a look into. And there will be more pressure on Taiwan. More pro-China political parties, more pro-China political activists, YouTubers making videos in Mandarin Chinese, and more pro-China rhetoric. They will try to influence the current political parties in Taiwan to make them oppose the West, oppose the United States, and become more pro-Chinese, which is also very dangerous and is affecting national security of Taiwan directly. So this is what I see will happen with Chinese propaganda machine in the following years. So there is only one thing we can do. We should unite. We should unite our voices and oppose the CCP. I mean, CCP is uniting the dictatorships around them. All the people who value freedom, democracy, human rights should oppose any other totalitarian propaganda coming out of CCP-run China. And yeah, there will be more situations when they will say that if you oppose the CCP, then you are opposing Chinese people or you're racist. But it's never about the people, it's always about the government. There are many people who don't like the CCP in China, but who just have to keep their mouths shut or disappear or be sent to the psychiatric hospital, like that lady who just covered Xi Jinping's portrait with ink. So he can be vocal about opposing the CCP in China. And like what is interesting, the current situation with the WHO, Because we have right now the UK variant of the virus, we have the Vietnamese variant of the virus, we have South African variant of the virus, and all of these names are not being called as stigmatizing or racist or whatever. But if you say Wuhan coronavirus, or like what I like to say, the CCP virus, then you're stigmatizing. I mean, in Taiwan, one of the official names of the virus is Wuhan coronavirus because it originated in Wuhan. And when the Taiwanese doctors told the World Health Organization that there is a coronavirus, an unknown virus, which is transmittable to humans, WHO just ignored it. They said that it happened in Wuhan. They've been observing that place. And after the virus outbreak, all of a sudden, all the world was not allowed to say Wuhan coronavirus. And right now, the lab leak theory is being investigated, but we can clearly see that the World Health Organization's position is to protect the CCP, is to protect the CCP around China. Just take a look at their reaction during the beginning of the pandemic, that people should continue travel, people shouldn't be panicking, that closing your borders is racist. But right now it's considered absolutely normal. And that China is handling the virus greatly, and there are very good numbers coming out of China. Of course, because the statistics is all fake in China. You just see the numbers that the CCP is providing you. But it's just very interesting how the World Health Organization is doing its best to protect the CCP's regime. So I think that the virus should be called either the CCP virus, because it was the CCP who was responsible for the concealing of the virus, who was responsible for as many people went out of China and just transferred this virus to different people all around the world. Or the World Health Organization virus, the WHO virus, or CCP WHO virus. It's also a very good name because the WHO, including Mr. Tedros, who is the Secretary General of the WHO, they helped to cover it up. I'm not talking about the origin of the virus. The outbreaks, they happen. I'm talking about the responsibility to be very transparent about how you're fighting the virus, about allowing independent investigations, about allowing foreign experts to help you, and providing the real data about the virus. Just be transparent. And don't say that everything is under control, everything is all right, you shouldn't be worried. But people are just running out of China and transmitting the virus. So it's the CCP. It's their responsibility, 100%. But I don't know why we're not allowed to talk about it. Just take a look what's going on with Steven Crowder's channel. Wish him luck with his suit against YouTube. Okay, these are the things I wanted to talk to you about. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please press like, subscribe, and share. This is Stan's Free Speech channel, and I see you in the next one. Cheers.